Tracy was known in Umuoma village for her beauty. She was tall, light-skinned, with a smooth face and long black hair always tied in a neat scarf. Many men admired her, but only one truly loved her, Thomas, the village carpenter. Thomas was dark-skinned and humble. His hands were rough from work, but his heart was soft. Every morning he carried his wooden toolbox and walked to people's homes to fix furniture. He didn't earn much, but he gave his wife and daughter all he had. He never came home without bread or a smile. Tracy, however, was never satisfied. She would often frown when Thomas gave her money. "Is this all? You expect me to cook soup with this?" she would say, tossing the money on the table. Thomas would smile sadly, wipe sweat from his forehead, and reply, "I'm sorry, my love. This is what I could get today. I will try harder tomorrow." They had a daughter named Lucy. She was 5 years old, dark-skinned like her father, with big brown eyes and two puffed ponytails. She was playful, always singing and dancing around the compound. She loved her parents dearly, but it was clear her mother didn't show her much affection. While Thomas struggled to provide, Tracy had started an affair. A rich businessman named Patrick had come to the village for a road construction project. He stayed in the best guest house and drove a shining black Jeep. He noticed Tracy at the market and started buying her things. Expensive clothes, perfumes. He even gave her a smartphone. Tracy didn't hide it. She wore new clothes around the village and took pictures. She started lying to Thomas, staying out late and claiming she was visiting a friend. Thomas didn't argue. He loved her too much to suspect. But fate is cruel. One rainy evening, Thomas was carrying wood on his bicycle. A car splashed water and startled him. He fell into a deep gutter. People rushed him to the clinic, but the injury was bad. He passed away 2 days later. The whole village mourned, but Tracy didn't cry. She stayed inside the house and packed her bags. Ruth, Thomas's mother, an old woman with gray hair and shaky legs, held her granddaughter Lucy close. Lucy asked, "Where is Daddy?" Grandma Ruth only hugged her tightly. Tracy stepped out in a short gown, holding her suitcase. Patrick waited by his Jeep. "Mama Ruth," she said coldly, "take care of Lucy." "I'm leaving." The old woman's eyes widened. "What are you saying? You just lost your husband. Where are you going?" Tracy rolled her eyes. "This life is not for me. I've suffered enough. I need to be happy too." Lucy ran to her mother, tears running down her cheeks. "Mummy, please don't go. Please, I will be a good girl." But Tracy didn't even bend down. She hissed, opened the car door, and left without looking back. Tracy stepped out of the car and looked around the compound. The sun was bright that morning, and the gates of the mansion opened slowly. Patrick led the way, wearing his fine navy blue suit and shiny shoes. 2 security guards greeted him with a salute as the black Jeep entered the big compound. Tracy's eyes grew wide. The mansion was big, painted white with flower pots at every corner. The floor tiles outside were clean and shiny like a mirror. She looked up and saw golden curtains hanging from the large windows. The front door was carved wood with shiny brass handles. Inside the house, everything looked like something from a magazine. The chairs were soft, the walls had paintings, and the air smelled like perfume and fresh flowers. Patrick smiled at her. "Welcome to your new home." Tracy smiled back. Her lips were painted red, and her long wig fell neatly on her shoulder. She wore a short pink dress and held her handbag like a queen. "Thank you," she said. Patrick had 2 children, Vanessa, who was 12, and Junior, who was 10. The children came down from upstairs when they heard noise. They stood at the stairs and looked at Tracy. Their faces were blank. Vanessa folded her arms. Junior looked at her from head to toe without a word. "Children, this is Miss Tracy," Patrick said with a proud voice. Vanessa only nodded slowly and walked away. Junior followed without greeting. Tracy noticed it, but she didn't care. As days passed, she moved into the master bedroom with Patrick. The room had a big soft bed, white bed sheets, and a large dressing mirror. She unpacked her clothes, gowns, shoes, handbags, and arranged them in the wardrobe. Every day, Patrick spoiled her with gifts. He bought her gold earrings, necklaces, and expensive perfumes. He gave her money, took her to fancy restaurants with soft music and candlelight. They went shopping in malls with glass doors and air conditioning. Tracy always took pictures, holding shopping bags, posing beside Patrick's car. smiling with wine glasses in hand. She posted them on social media with big captions like soft life and queen things. She started meeting other rich women. They wore makeup and loud perfume. They talked about fashion and men. They invited Tracy to clubs and lounges. They laughed, danced, and posed for photos. Some even gave her tips on how to keep a rich man. Life was sweet. Tracy no longer remembered the small house in Umoma. She no longer remembered Thomas or the day he died. She did not think of Mama Ruth or Lucy. She blocked the past from her mind and enjoyed the soft pillows, the cold drinks, and the bright city lights. But far away in Umuoma village, another life was happening. Little Lucy sat on a wooden bench outside their small mud house. The roof had rusted and the walls had cracks. The ground was bare, and the trees behind the house gave little shade. She wore her faded school uniform, once white but now brownish. Her sandals were worn out, and the strap on one side was tied with a rope. She held her old school bag tight to her chest. Beside her, Grandma Ruth was frying buns in a small black pot over a fire made with 3 stones. Her white hair was tied with a scarf. Her wrapper was old but clean. Her hands moved slowly as she dropped each bun into the hot oil. After frying, Ruth packed the buns in a small basket and went to sit under the big mango tree by the road. That was her selling spot. She also sold chin-chin and ground nuts. People passing by would stop to buy, and she used the money to buy food and send Lucy to school. Little Lucy, with her old, faded uniform and hand-me-down books, would come back from school and change into her old dress and help her grandma hawk the fried bun in the sun. She would carry the tray on her head and follow Grandma to the roadside, calling out softly to passers-by, "Fresh buns, sweet chin-chin." At school, things were not easy for Lucy. Her classmates laughed at her torn socks and her plastic lunchbox. They mocked her every day. "Your mother ran away," one girl shouted. "Maybe she doesn't love you," another boy added. "Did she forget you?" They laughed. Lucy would force a smile. She never replied, but during break time she would go behind the classroom block where nobody could see her. She sat on the floor, held her knees, and quietly cried. Then she would whisper, "Mummy, please come back, I miss you." But nobody came. Every day she wiped her tears with her sleeve, picked her bag, and went back to class like nothing happened. She never told Grandma Ruth. She didn't want her to worry. Even though Lucy was small, she had learned how to be strong. The village was quiet most days. The air smelled of firewood and fresh leaves. Birds chirped in the trees. Life was slow. No cars passed. Just bicycles and the sound of chickens in the distance. But inside Lucy's heart, the silence was louder. She waited, hoping that one day her mother would remember her. Time passed slowly in Umuoma village. The trees grew taller. The sun rose and set. The same chickens walked around the same compounds. But inside Lucy's small world, everything was changing. Grandma Ruth had become weak. She coughed every morning, holding her chest gently. Her back was now bent like a curve. Her legs shook when she walked, and her fingers trembled when she tried to hold anything. But no matter how tired or sick she felt, she always managed to wake up before Lucy. She would touch Lucy's head softly, smile, and say, "Good morning, my child." Lucy would smile back, even on days when her heart felt heavy. By the time she turned 14, Lucy had grown into a strong and responsible girl. Her cheeks were no longer round like before. Her arms were now firm from work, and her eyes were serious. She started baking on her own. She would wake early, mix flour, sugar, and butter in a bowl, and fry puff and biscuits. She packed the snacks neatly in a small basket, wore her old school uniform, and walked to school. At break time, she sold the snacks to her classmates. Some classmates still laughed at her old sandals, but others now greeted her with respect. "Lucy, give me 2 puff," they would say, and hand her money. She never wasted the money. She saved little by little in a metal box under her bed. She used the money to buy books and also to help Grandma buy cough syrup and herbs from the village clinic. At night, when the whole village was quiet, Lucy sat by the small table with a candle beside her books. She read for hours. Sometimes her eyes closed on the pages, and she slept right there, her head on the table. But she didn't stop. Even when Grandma Ruth begged her to rest, Lucy would shake her head gently and say, "I want to make you proud, Grandma." When she turned 18, the results of the WAEC exam came out. Lucy passed with flying colors. She was one of the best students in the whole district. 1 week later, a letter came from a big foundation in the city. They had seen her results and offered her a full scholarship to study business administration at a top university. Her hands shook as she held the letter. Her heart beat fast with joy. She shouted and ran home barefoot, dust flying from her feet. "Grandma! Grandma!" she called, waving the letter in the air. "I got it! They gave me a scholarship. I'm going to the university." But when she opened the wooden door to their little house, she stopped. The room was quiet. Grandma Ruth was lying on the floor beside her mat. Her eyes were closed. Her hands were cold. "Grandma?" Lucy said softly, her smile fading. She dropped the letter and rushed to her side. "Grandma, wake up! Please wake up!" She shook her. "Please don't do this. I made it. I'm going to school like you wanted. You have to see it." But Grandma Ruth did not open her eyes. Lucy cried out loudly, tears falling on Ruth's chest. She hugged her tightly and sobbed. "Please don't leave me. I will take care of you. I promise. I will make you proud. Just don't leave me now." But it was too late. The only person who had truly loved her was gone. The small house felt too quiet. The air was still. Outside, the sun kept shining, but inside Lucy's heart, it was dark. The sky was gray on the day of Grandma Ruth's burial. Light rain fell gently on the brown sand as villagers stood quietly around the small grave. Lucy wore a plain black gown, her head tied with a scarf. Her face was wet, not just from the rain, but from tears that refused to stop. She stood beside the grave and whispered, "Thank you, Grandma. I will make you proud, I promise." After the burial, Lucy packed her few clothes into a nylon bag, tied it tight, and boarded a bus to the city. She didn't look back. She left Umuoma with nothing but hope in her heart and strength in her bones. In the city, everything was different. The noise was loud. Cars rushed past with speed. Buildings touched the sky. But Lucy kept her head down. She had come for one thing: education. She stayed in a small hostel near the university. Her room was small with just a mattress, a table, and a chair. She swept it clean every day and kept her books in a neat pile by the corner. At school, she did not talk much. She went to class early, sat in front, and listened with full attention. Her lecturers noticed her. Her results were always good. She was not the loudest in class, but everyone knew she was serious. During holidays and weekends, Lucy returned to what she knew best: baking. She bought flour, sugar, oil, and meat from the market. In her small hostel kitchen, she fried puff-puff and meat pies and rolled chin-chin with her hands. She packaged them in clear nylon and tied them with ribbon. Then she carried them to nearby offices and hostels to sell. People loved her snacks. "Lucy's meat pie is the best," one woman said at the office canteen. "Please bring more tomorrow," a student told her one evening. By the time she turned 20, Lucy had saved enough money to rent a small shop close to the campus. She painted the walls cream and placed a wooden sign outside that read, "Ruth's Oven." She named it after the only person who ever showed her love. She bought an oven, some trays, a small fridge, and a counter. Every morning she opened the shop early. The smell of fresh bread and warm pastries filled the air. Students and workers stopped by before school or work. Soon her business grew. She got help from 2 girls who assisted her with baking and packaging. She registered the business legally. She bought her first car, a small second-hand black SUV. She smiled as she sat behind the wheel for the first time. "I wish Grandma could see this," she whispered. With hard work, Lucy began supplying her snacks to small supermarkets and school canteens in the area. She made sure the name Ruth's Oven was on every label. People now recognized the name. By graduation, Lucy had achieved more than anyone expected. She walked into the school auditorium in her red gown and cap. Her smile was wide. Her hair was neatly packed. Her black shoes shined. When her name was called, the whole hall clapped loudly. Lucy shook the dean's hand and received her certificate. Her heart was full. Outside, her workers were waiting with flowers and balloons. They hugged her. "You did it, madam!" one girl shouted. That same day, Lucy drove to her bakery. The sign now read, "Ruth's Oven, Main Branch." She had 4 other shops in different parts of the city. She no longer lived in a hostel. She now stayed in a modern apartment with white tiles, clean curtains, and her own kitchen where she sometimes still baked late at night. Even with all her success, Lucy did not forget where she came from. She opened a foundation and named it Mama Ruth's Heart. The foundation helped orphans, poor children, and girls from villages who could not afford school fees. She gave them food, books, and a chance to learn skills. Whenever people asked her why she was helping strangers, she said with a smile, "Because someone once helped me." Lucy had become a boss lady, not just because she had money or shops, but because she had strength, kindness, and courage. She built her life from nothing. She was now a woman of grace, a woman of purpose, a woman of strength. Meanwhile, in another part of the city, things had begun to fall apart for Tracy. Over the years, Patrick pampered her with everything she ever wanted: money, gold jewelry, designer bags, and fancy trips. She lived in a mansion, drove around in expensive cars, and wore clothes that turned heads. But through it all, Patrick never married her. Still, Tracy didn't complain. She believed she had won in life. But as time passed, she began to notice changes. Her face, once fresh and smooth, started to show signs of age. The rich creams and powders could not hide the wrinkles that slowly appeared. Her body was not as firm as before, and Patrick began to look at other women younger, fresher, and full of life. He started spending more time outside. Sometimes he didn't return home till morning. Tracy began to see lip gloss stains on his shirts. She heard strange voices on his phone. He no longer took her on trips or bought her gifts. He stopped holding her hand. One day, while sitting in the living room waiting for him, Patrick walked in and suddenly collapsed. He had suffered a stroke. He was rushed to the hospital, but after a few days, Patrick passed away. The once strong, proud, and wealthy man was gone. After the burial, the reading of his will took place in a law firm in the city. Tracy arrived wearing a black dress, heels, and a small gold chain. She sat at the table with her back straight, her hands shaking slightly in her lap. The lawyer, an old man in glasses, cleared his throat and opened the file. "I, Patrick Nwachagwu, leave all my houses, cars, businesses, and money to my children, Vanessa and Junior." Tracy sat up, waiting to hear her name, but nothing more was said. Her face turned pale. "Excuse me, sir," she said, her voice cracking. "What about me?" Vanessa, now a confident young woman, stood up. "There is nothing for you. You broke our home. You took our father away from our mother," Junior added coldly. "Our mom was sick. But when she found out about you, she died with pain in her heart. You were never part of this family." Before Tracy could speak again, the guards were called in. "Please escort her out," the lawyer said. She was thrown out of the mansion with only the clothes on her back. No savings, no jewelry, nothing. The little money she had in her account finished quickly due to her lavish lifestyle. She had lived all her life depending on Patrick. She didn't know how to work or save. Her rich friends stopped picking her calls. Some blocked her number. She tried to reach out for help, but doors were shut in her face. Soon she sold her clothes just to eat. Her expensive gowns and shoes were sold to strangers at the roadside. She sold her phones too. But it wasn't enough. Tracy became homeless. She began to sleep on a pavement close to a busy supermarket. The street was noisy, the floor cold. Her wig was old and scattered. Her skin looked rough. Her face was dirty. She stretched her hand out every day, begging for coins and leftover food. One morning, Lucy was driving to one of her bakery branches for a routine check. She wore a white blouse tucked into a long black skirt. Her gold earrings sparkled, and her soft bun sat neatly on her head. Her black SUV stopped at a junction not far from the supermarket. That was when she saw someone sitting on the pavement. A woman, dirty, bent over, wearing torn slippers, begging. Something about the woman's face made Lucy look again. Her heart skipped. She opened the car door and stepped out. As she walked closer, the woman looked up. It was Tracy, her mother. The same eyes, the same mouth, the same shape of face, but now older, tired, and broken. Tracy stared back, confused. "Do I know you?" she asked, blinking. Lucy's eyes filled with tears, but she stood still. "No, you don't." She turned to leave, but Tracy touched her hand. "Wait, your face looks familiar. Have we met before?" Lucy turned slowly. Her voice was calm, but her heart beat fast. "Yes, I'm Lucy, the daughter you left behind." Tracy gasped and fell to her knees. "Oh my God, Lucy, my baby, Please forgive me. I was young. I was foolish. I didn't know better. Tears rolled down Lucy's cheeks. Don't call me that. Where were you when I needed you? When I was mocked at school? When Grandma Ruth died in my arms? Tracy sobbed. I thought I was chasing happiness. I didn't know the pain I caused. Lucy shook her head. You abandoned me, but I made it. Without you. She turned away. Please, Tracy cried out. Let me be part of your life now. Just a little. Please. Lucy stopped and turned back. I don't hate you, she said quietly. But I'm no longer that little girl who waited for her mother. That girl is gone. She entered her car and drove away. That night, Lucy sat alone in her bedroom. She looked at a small photo frame beside her bed. Inside was a picture of Grandma Ruth, smiling softly. Lucy whispered, Grandma, what would you do? Tears welled up in her eyes, but she wiped them gently. By morning, she had made a decision. She drove back to the pavement. Tracy was still there, sitting in the same spot, her hands wrapped around her knees. Lucy walked up to her and handed her a small white card. Go to this address, Lucy said. You'll get a job as a cleaner in one of my bakeries. It's not much, but it's something. Tracy looked down in shame. Thank you. Lucy nodded. Grandma taught me to never ignore someone in need, even if that person once hurt me. Tracy got the job. She swept floors, washed toilets, and cleaned windows. She lived simply, ate from the staff kitchen, and slept in a shared room. She was never rich again, but she had food, shelter, and a second chance. As for Lucy, she found true happiness. She later married a kind man named Daniel, and together they had a son. They built a peaceful home filled with laughter, music, and love. Every time Lucy walked past her bakery and saw Tracy sweeping quietly, she smiled softly. Sometimes life brings people back, not to hurt you again, but to remind you how far you've come.